comics. Well, it's a work in progress, folks. I'm in the new studio. I have a blank slate behind me, which has given me a lot of pause to think about my collection, the direction I want to go in, and we'll definitely hop into that more in future videos. So stay tuned for the room tour. Bear with me as I figure out the lighting and the audio and all of that. But we're just getting started, and it's incredibly exciting to have this blank slate, and I can't wait to show you guys all the plans that I have in store for the new studio and eventually the new shop. I still have a lot of stuff to do before we can move the new shop over, so we're probably at least a couple months out from moving the actual shop. But in this video, we're going to talk about a recent collection that a seller reached out and was looking for an offer to see what I could pay for the collection. And we have another situation where Go Collect values are just all over the place, just way off, whether it's up or down, mostly way down. And we're going to talk in this video about some really interesting points of conversation that come up with this, that's some really valuable tips I think will help a lot of collectors. But before we hop into the computer, I want to remind you we have a massive Whatnot show coming up July 28th at 5 p.m. Friday over on Whatnot. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. There's going to be $1 starts on hundreds of slabs. There's going to be 20 CGC slab giveaways, and there's going to be a shot at a mini grail. So the way that it works is if you win 2 giveaways in this show, you get to spin a prize wheel. On that prize wheel is 15 spots for $150 store credit, and one of the spots is going to be a grail. I haven't picked it out yet, but it's going to be something north of $1,000 book. So if you show up and win 2 giveaways, you could potentially win a free mini grail as well. And it's happened before. It has happened before where somebody who just showed up, won 2 giveaways, didn't buy anything, won the 2 giveaways and a grail slab. So it's incredibly exciting. You're not going to want to miss it. And also, if every purchase that you make during the show gets your name on a separate wheel, at the end of the show, we spin that wheel, and whoever wins that gets to spin the prize wheel. So somebody's spinning the prize wheel one way or another. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you there. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase if you're new to Whatnot, and I'll have stuff in the buy it now for 15 bucks. So if you're new to Whatnot and use my link, you can come by and pick up a free book, have a chance at winning a massive amount of prizes. Who can get mad at that? So let's hop into the computer and take a look at some interesting points about this collection. Here we are on Go Collect. The seller actually sent me their login information, which makes it actually really nice to be able to take a look at the whole collection. This total value is $49,329, and this total value comes from 52 FMVs that are provided by Go Collect, which total $37,690. So these are the books that Go Collect actually provides an FMV for. Sometimes they don't provide an FMV when there's not enough sales data, and in that case you can enter your own personal estimate, and then sometimes I think you can even override an FMV and provide a personal estimate. So 23 personal estimates in this collection totaling $11,639. The total of both of these equal $49,329. And there's about, I think, 75 books or so in this collection. They're all graded slabs. There's 4 pages of them here. And in a situation like this, I mean, the best thing that I could do to offer a fair price would be to look up every single book and evaluate my own FMV. What I would love to be able to do is just take Go Collect's word for it. But in my experience, time and time again, the FMVs are just way off. And recently they've been off around 10 to 20% over what I would expect the books to actually sell for. So I want to note that I actually did reach out to Go Collect and I asked them, how do you guys calculate FMV? And they said, we can't share that information with you. It's proprietary information, but it's taken from sales from all of these different sources, eBay, Hakes, Heritage, etc. And we come up with a fair market value, which is a number that should not be taken as gospel. It's meant to give you an idea of what the book sells for over time. So their own people are saying these FMVs are not gospel. Like, you shouldn't, fall on your sword over these prices. They're not hard and fast values. So that's really interesting to know. So what I do when I'm looking at a collection like this, in this case, I looked at some of the personal estimates and could see that the seller is about 50% over 48.95% over what the actual FMV. So I take like several of them, look up my FMVs and look up the seller FMV. So he's about 50% over what the books are actually selling for. What I like to do is just take a sample of the books and look at my FMV for the book, look at Go Collect's FMV for the book, and then get a percentage that we're off. So if I can say Go Collect is 10% over what I am right now, because this changes over time. As the market changes, Go Collect's percentage that they're off also changes. So if I can get, at this point in time, a percentage that Go Collect is off, then I can take that percentage and apply it to the 52 Go Collect FMVs and make an offer based on that. And the same for the seller's estimate. If I can get a percentage that we're off, like say the seller is 50% over what I would be, then I can make an offer based off of the percentage for that. So I take the percentage of the personal estimates, the percentage of the FMV, get a total for that, and then take 60% of that. So I'm offering 60% of fair market value for what I consider to be fair market value. In the case of Go Collect, I'll take the percentage off of what my fair market value is off from Go Collect, and then 60% of that is what I can offer. Plus, I offer to cover the cost of shipping, fully insured, make the process super simple. You just box the books up, send me the dimensions, the weights, and the return address, and I send you shipping labels. It's a really smooth process, and you have money in your pocket as soon as 2 days. If you want to pay for a little extra for expedited shipping, I can have you paid in like 2 days. Otherwise, we just do the standard shipping and you get paid in about a week. So it's a really smooth process. People that do it all the time are really happy with the no hassle part of and the convenience of it. So let's take a look at this first book, All New Wolverine, number 19. Go Collect has an FMV of $625. And if you look at this is a really good example of how I just don't understand where Go Collect gets some of this data. This is the 1 in 500 venomized variant for All New Wolverine number 19. Just a super, super sick cover by Matina. And if you look at the sales, Go Collect has the FMV for a 9.8 at $400, and they have the FMV of a 9.6 for $625. And this is a perfect example of how the algorithm is majorly flawed, okay? If their own FMVs for the same book, they're valuing a 9.6 more than a 9.8. I mean, this is just so basic. You should just have something in the algorithm to prevent this from happening. So if we come over here, I put the FMV for a 9.6 at $300. Go Collect has it at $625. If we look at the actual sales for this book, the 9.8 sold for $400 back in October of 2022. That was the last sale of a 9.8. And the market has come down significantly since October of 2022. But I do think because of how rare this book is, I mean, this book just never comes up. I think a 9.8 would sell right away for $400. This was a good deal, but I think it's also the fair market value because it's never really been much more than that, 500, 535, 477. But because of how rare it is, I don't think this book is going to be affected too much by the drop in the market. But if we go to the 9.6 Matina sketch cover, there was a sale for $467. And that was on eBay. But how does Go Collect come up with a fair market value of $625? The last sale was $467. There's a high sale of $550. I mean, it's never had sales higher than $550, and they're going to put the fair market value at $625 is just crazy. So if you look at some of the other sales for this book, I mean, $195, $550, $250, $400. It's so rare. It's just one of those situations where if a collector really wants it, they're going to pay a price, but not too high of a price. So seeing that a 9.8 sold for $400, I put the FMV for this one at $300. That's what I would list it for on my site and expect it to sell is $300. Let's look at Amazing Spider-Man number 14 in a 1.8. Go Collect puts the FMV at $1,300. I put the FMV at $1,100, and let's pull up the sales. So here we are on GP analysis for Amazing Spider-Man 14. The 1.8, the last sale was $825, but that was back in November of 2022, and it does seem to be an anomaly low. When you get these super low grade copies, it's more common to have outliers because presentation becomes a big factor. So you can have a 1.8 that looks like absolute garbage, and then you can have a 1.8 that presents really well for the grade, and the prices are going to be really different. So that may be what happened here. Go Collect put the fair market value at $1,300 for this one, and I put the fair market value at $1,100 for this because a 2.0 sold for $1,300 just in June, and the 90-day average of the 2.0 is $1,250. So it's like if the 2.0 is averaging, $1,190, $1,258, I can't justify a price tag of $1,300 for a 1.8. People just aren't going to pay it. So I think a fair price for this is going to be $1,100, which is pretty typical for Go Collect differences in price here. This is about, probably about 15% or so. Math is hard on the fly, but this is pretty standard for the difference. ASM 121 and 9.4, this is one we actually agreed on. And when there's books that there is, way more sales of, Go Collect is more in line. But it's hard to find those. I mean, comic books, sales in specific grades, there's not always going to be a ton of comps for it. And so let's take a look at this one, Amazing Spider-Man 121 and a 9.4. So the 9.4 last sale was $1,300, and that was this month in July of 2023. We have, the last sale was $1,300. There was a sale of $1,140. And if we click the link, when it's underlined, you can click the link. This was at Heritage. It's a 9.4 white page copy. It's an old case, which sucks. But Heritage, and this might deter a few people. Somebody might look at this and be like, personally, I would steer away from this if I could. This is a book that comes up enough. I wouldn't want this old case because of the unknowns that have happened with CGC grading back then. Their standards have changed over time. The book has been around in the case longer. Maybe it bounced around. There's just a lot more risk picking up an old label case. So personally, I could see why maybe I would pay a couple $100 less. I would still pick it up, but maybe a couple $100 less. If it was in a brand new case in 9.4 white pages, that's what I would hold out for. And since it comes up so much, you don't have to jump on this book if it isn't, just right. So we have $1,300, $1,140 if we just ignore that. We have $1,280, $1,315, $1,250, $1,313. So I think 13 seems like a real nice number for this book, and so does Go Collect. And it might be the only one I've ever agreed upon, but $1,300. So they also have several different grades here. They have an 8.0 and a 9.0 for the same book. So the 8.0 on GP analysis, the last sale was $550, and Go Collect is putting the 8.0 at $625. So when you look at these numbers, 550 is the most recent, 532 is the 90-day average. I mean, I just can't, and the 9.0 just sold for $636. So I just can't justify the same price as a 9.0 for an 8.0 on this book. So I would put, what did I put for this? So 532. In this case, I think the 90-day average is a fair price for this book. When you look, it's a book that changes hands, often enough where you look at these sales, 550, 625, 578. But, back in June, May, and April, you got 500, 500, 442, 400, 400. So, putting a price on it, 532, I think is a reasonable price in today's market. The 9.0 Go Collect puts at 800. I put it at 741. So if we look at the 9.0, the last sale was actually 636. But in this case, I thought that was kind of an anomaly low. If you look at the graph, that is low. The 90-day average is 741. And so 636 was the most recent, but we have a sale the same month before that for 750, and then in June 810, 750, 785, 750, 750. So I could see justifying a price for the 90-day average of this of 741. Don't forget to head over to brycecomics.com and sign up for the newsletter for your chance to win a free slab each and every month. This month, we're giving away a Hulk Annual #1 and a 4.0. This is also where you'll get first access to new collections, new inventory that comes through the shop. Use code COLLECT10 for 10% off. That code is always active. And we have the most exciting mystery box I've ever done coming up, if all goes according to plan, in September. And this is where you'll get first notification of that. We also have a monthly giveaway here on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, comment, and like, you're entered to win a free slab. This month, we're giving away 2 free slabs. So let's look at ASM 122. That's this book here in a 9.4. If we go and look at the sale. So there was one outlier sale of most recently of $1,020. And as you can see, that's like a drastic uptick in the price. If we click in here to look at this year, so one sale of $10.20, and then all the way back to February to get a sale over $1,000. So prior to that, we have $1,000, $800, $675, $700, $900, $900, $725, $700, $900. I mean, you look at all of these sales, and to put a fair price of it of $10.50, which is more than it's only sold for that, or it's only sold for $10.50 or more once this calendar year, and that's clearly an outlier. So to put a price of $1,050 as the FMV, I just don't understand how they could possibly do that with all of these sales. I mean, look at these numbers. $10.50 is what you come up with for that. It would never sell for $10.50. $800 is what I put as the fair market value for that, which is, pretty well a good, if you ignore these, it would probably be about the average of the last 90 days. Here's another book with the seller estimate. The personal estimate is $430. Future Fight First, White Fox #1. It's the origin of White Fox, this amazing In-Hyuk Lee virgin cover. It's a 1 in 100. It's a book that I have in my personal collection, and I absolutely love this book, but the prices are the prices. I mean, you have to take emotion out of it when you're valuing something, and this thing has come down in price quite a bit. Here we can see the last sale of the Virgin Edition was $177. And the sale before that was $219. The sale before that was $187. So, I mean, all 3 sales, the average of those, are under $200 for the entire year. So I put 200, even though the average sale is under 200. I don't think it would even sell for 200 right now. I think I would have to, take it like 180 or 190 for this book. But I went ahead and put an FMV of $200, which is less than half of the seller's estimate, which is fine. Maybe they made this estimate back when it was worth 400. It was worth $400 at one point, but it definitely has come down. So I was going to go through the first 2 pages here of the seller's collection and do all 2 pages. I think it would be about, so there's 75 books. It would be about 40 books if I did the 2 pages, and then I was just not going to do the other 3 pages. You can see there's some really cool books in here. Rick and Morty #1, Something is Killing the Children #1, 2, 3, 5, Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, the Ji-Hyung Lee variant. Strange Academy #1, I didn't even consider this one. It has an FMV of $850. There's just no possible way. That's got to be way off. Batman Adventures, some really cool books, as you can see, but I didn't even dive into these numbers. This one has got to be way off. $1,500. I think I sold one for like $300 or $250 even. So that one seems like a crazy anomaly. This awesome Wolverine Nabisco cover. So some really cool books. But I went ahead and made the calculations just based off of these. I took these first books here that I have an FMV that I looked up, and I took that total, and then I took the FMVs that Go Collect has for those same books, and got that total, and then calculated that as a percent. So Go Collect was 13.14% over for these books. And if I were to go in and get some of these other anomaly highs like this one, I'm sure that that percentage would go way up. So I think this is conservative. And the personal estimates here, so I went and I took the books that the seller had a personal estimate for, and I totaled all of his estimates and got this number. And then I took my FMVs for those same books and got this number, and then calculated that as a percent. So the seller's FMV was 48.95% over what I would expect them to actually sell for. So if we go back to the collection here on Go Collect, we take the 52 FMVs, which is 37,690, and we minus the 13.14% because the Go Collect is about 13% over. It's probably more than that. So the actual FMV of the 52 books that there was FMV for is 32,737. Then if we take the seller's estimates, so I subtracted the Black Panther 1 from this. So there's a book in here I'll just really briefly talk about. There's a Black Panther 1 sketch edition by J. Scott Campbell. It's a CBCS. Now, the seller had an estimate of $1,800 for this. At one point, a 9.8 of this was selling for like $5,000. I think the 9.8s are down to like $2,000 now. So I just decided to pass on this book. I mean, first of all, nobody is, spending a lot of money on Shuri related stuff. Those numbers, those record sales are based on spec. And now the only people really buying this book are J. Scott Campbell collectors, which are, vast. There's a lot of J. Scott Campbell collectors. Fantastic book, awesome, highly collectible book to have in your collection. But I think a drastic price correction is coming for this book as all of the spec behind Shuri is gone. And now it's just J. Scott Campbell art and rare collectors. So in addition to that, it's a CBCS case, which is a much harder sell for a high value modern book. So rather than doing anything with the price on this, I just passed. So I just took that out of this. So $1,800 of this was that Black Panther book. So I just subtract the $1,800 and that comes to $9,839. So if we multiply that by 0.5105, that would give us, that would subtract the 48.95% that it's over, comes to $5,000. So my offer for this collection is 60% of what I think the fair market value of these are. So you add these two together, you get $37,000. So that's the total fair market value that I think that I can reasonably expect these books to sell for. $37,760. And if you look, that's quite a bit different than this total number here, $49,000. That's just the fair market value. So then I have to make my profit, so I offer 60% of the fair market value. So my offer was $22,656. So a little update here for you guys. I heard back from the seller after shooting my offer, and I gave my explanation for why I was so far off on the personal value estimates and why I think Go Collect was about 13% over and how I arrived at my final thing. And I heard back from him, and he said, there's a lot that goes into personal estimates for books. So why don't I make it easy and take out all of the books that I have personal estimates for, and we just do the deal for the ones that have concrete FMVs. And I love that. I love everything about that brief little conversation and interaction with the seller, because there is a lot that goes into valuing comic books that have sentimental value to us. And this little interaction gave me great pause about, my business in general. I really put a lot of thought into it after he said that. Sometimes these collections that come through are curated things that were over decades. Sometimes people collect for decades and then finally go to sell it. And, in the hustle and bustle of managing a business, and I'm currently managing a move, it's really easy to, be too short with people, or especially because of the limitations on current technology with communication and email and text. Sometimes I think just a full conversation or a regular conversation on the phone would make the complexion of business deals look a lot different. But as we're curating these collections, every single book that we buy for a comic book collection, we buy because it meant something to us. We had an affinity for the books, and some of them more than others, you know? And I think that this was a perfect solution to this whole thing, is just don't sell the ones that are really special to you or that you have, you know, placed a higher value on. Maybe you have a book that was signed by an artist who passed away. Maybe you got that book signed by that artist, and when you met him, to you, that book might be worth $1,000. The reality of what it's worth in the aftermarket is probably going to be a lot less than that. So the solution is, don't sell that book. It's a perfect solution because the person that's buying the book isn't going to have the same affinity. To them, yeah, it's signed by, let's say, Neil Adams or something, and that's got some great value to it, but it wasn't, you didn't get it, that person didn't get it signed by Neil Adams, and there are, you know, multiple Neil Adams. So it's just an example of how there's a lot that goes into it, and I think that both as buyers and sellers, you know, this is like the tip part, and the main takeaway from this video, I think, is about the negotiation, not about the numbers. Is, you know, be really careful how you word things to people. Just the way that he worded that, where he kind of accepted the truth that, yeah, I can see that these are probably, you know, valued a little bit higher than they're actually selling for. It's because they're important to me. It's because they have personal value. So let's just take that part out, you know, rather, and as a buyer, you know, a dealer, it's really easy to have that reaction be, oh, this person is unreasonable. They're 50% off on their FMVs. There's no way I'm gonna get this collection. Like, just get this thing off my plate, and to be really short with people. But if both parties can be cognizant of that, and just be careful how you word things. Sometimes just wording things a little bit different in your emails could change the whole complexion of a deal. I mean, this deal could have not happened because of a simple little one-sentence email. And so that, I think, is the big takeaway. Slow down in your communications, explain yourself. What I always like to say in relationships, like personal relationships, what applies to business too, is use more words. I mean, if you're typing an email, just add a couple more sentences explaining things, and it goes a long way. So there is still hope for this collection. We haven't sealed the deal yet. We're gonna rework the list, rework the deal, and I really hope that we get to do an unboxing for this collection, because there's some really great books in here, and I'd like to show the whole thing in its collection. With that said, don't forget to check out that Whatnot show July 28th. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. If you're new to Whatnot, there'll be books in the buy now for 15 bucks. So if you're new, you can come get a free book. 20 CGC slab giveaways. We're bringing back the wheel. Chance at winning a mini grill. Just come by and show up. You don't have to spend any money, and you have a chance at winning some awesome prizes. But if you do want to spend some money, there's going to be $1 starts on hundreds of slabs. Great deals to be had, and I hope to see you there. As always, we have the monthly giveaway here on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, comment, and like, and head over to BryceComics.com, sign up for that newsletter for your chance to win a free slab each and every month, and where you get first access to new collections as they come through the shop, hopefully like this one. Thanks as always for sticking with me to the end of the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye. Oh, well, it's a work in progress, folks. I'm in. We'll try that again. This freaking table. Oh my god, that's hilarious. All right.